Good evening. It is Saturday, July the 2nd, about 10:30 p.m. This is Shay Gibson with Wind Alert, bringing you a Chucktown wind report as we head into Sunday and Monday of the 4th of July weekend. Let's take a look at the surface map and see what's going on in our area. We have Bermuda high pressure that is building out from the east, and that's what steered in a nice southerly synoptic flow today that coupled with the sea breeze. We had some decent moderate sea breezes this afternoon and into the evening. We had some frontal activity over the last several days that has been kind of stagnant, sitting over the Midlands to lee side of the Appalachian Mountains, both south and North Carolina, even up into Virginia. And a lot of that prefrontal troughing has pushed offshore as some of this zonal Western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico moisture has surged up along the ridge axis of this Bermuda high pressure. And so most of that's being drawn out and fizzling out offshore. So for tomorrow, we have this high pressure down here in the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be moving up into the pocket of the northeast Gulf of Mexico in this area. And what happens is we get a little bit of a westerly zonal flow below this boundary, and that usually persists through late morning to even midday at times. We could keep that nocturnal jet going. What we're seeing right now at the coastline is a nocturnal jet. We tend to get that with a warm front to our north, especially at nighttime. We get this southwesterly jet that'll burn off, and then we'll probably see a little bit of a westerly flow develop in the morning if this high pressure in the northeast Gulf of Mexico develops a little bit stronger. But what ends up happening is we get a stronger Atlantic high plus this northeast Gulf of Mexico high, and then what you get is a westerly upper flow during the day when the sea breeze undercuts it at the coastline, and then we get a stronger circulation at the coast. So I'm calling for tomorrow to go about 13 to 17 knots from the southwest. There is potential again if we get that line of inland storming like we saw today. Saw some of those urban heating effects with the flow going from west to east, and that fired off some thunderstorms that just sort of seemed continuously along the sea breeze front line, and that helped bring up the numbers along the beach several knots. So I called for 13 to 17 today. It actually ended up being more like 15 to 19. I did make mention of it in the pro forecast, so some of that was covered, but the profile does look a little bit healthier. So for tomorrow, I'm going to call for 13 to 17 knots again with that potential. If we don't get those inland storms, we may not get quite the robust profile for the sea breeze circulation. As we get into Monday, things do look a little healthier as this Bermuda high builds even a little bit more robustly into the southeast coast and works with this northeast Gulf of Mexico high as well. This boundary to our north is going to continue to undulate. We call this an undulating front when it gets pinched between high pressure to the north. We have a large ridge to the north over Canada and over the Great Lakes. This will be pushing a little bit towards the east and keeping this boundary caught in between all of the ridging down to the south and ridging to the north. And then this moisture just sort of trains up from the Pacific along the subtropical jet overhead and just trains moisture all along it in between, and that will be continuous for the next couple of days at least, but we'll keep some healthy sea breezing going. So 13 to 17 knots tomorrow, 14 to 18 for Monday. Let's look at the GRE. Things look pretty quiet up here up North Carolina along that front, or the warm front activity. The nocturnal storming is firing off just south of Fayetteville and heading towards the coastline, some just south of Greensboro as well. But for Charleston, we look very quiet. We have some nocturnal jetting, like I said, going on. Let's look at the data scope for the area and see what's happening. We have 16 to 18. That came down just a tad. We were at about 18 to 20 just a little while ago. This is usually typical at nighttime when you have that warm front to the north, like I said earlier. And this will probably fade out sometime after 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It may fade out, or it may even hold up till about 5 or 5:30 when the sun starts to come up. And the sunrise, I think, is around 6:20 in the morning now, or 6:15. Once the sun comes up, the nocturnal jetting fades back, and then we get the slow rebuild of the sea breeze. So we're going to be watching that very closely for tomorrow morning, that interface of what happens. Now, as far as the sea breeze circulations, we'll be watching for thunderstorms to fire off inland to help that return flow out over the ocean and then back into the coastline for the circulation. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. That's kind of how that works, and that's how we're going to get those numbers up for tomorrow. So that's it for the Chucktown wind report. Let's talk a little bit about tropics. We're looking at the central Atlantic, and I was looking at something earlier. This is a tropical wave. It's sitting right at about, I would say, about 45 degrees west at about maybe 13 to 15 degrees north. We look at lat longitude, and we kind of get an idea of where that is on the map. This area right here, there's some relaxed Saharan dust aloft. Usually we get a lot of heavy dusting off of the coast of Africa blow over the intertropical convergence zone, which is this monsoonal trough right here that actually goes from east to west. And what that does is dry out the atmosphere aloft at about 18,000 feet, and it doesn't allow for storms to form. Well, this area has relaxed in that dusting feature, and there is some relaxed upper shear as well. Most of the upper shear is starting at this point. There is a little bit of upper shear aloft heading from southwest to northeast, so it should encounter a little bit of that as it goes forward, but looks like we could be starting to see a little bit of a surface rotation, a little bit of a surface low pressure trying to form even as high as up as the 500 millibar or the 18,000 foot level. We're seeing a little bit of a positive tilt for a shortwave, and it looks like we could get some interest from the National Hurricane Center on this, but not definite as it heads generally off to the west-northwest towards the Lesser Antilles. Looks to arrive through that area into Monday and Tuesday. Elsewhere in the world, we have Tropical Storm Agatha, which is just getting onto the A's in the eastern Pacific. This is the second latest storm in the Pacific since I think about 1969 was the first latest storm to occur in July on July the 3rd. Now this one just formed today, July the 2nd. If we look at the winds for it, the last advisory is around 2 o'clock p.m., even though this one is saying 1:33. They're 6 hours behind us. So National Hurricane Center updated with 40-mile-an-hour winds, pressure at 1,005 millibars, and that will continue to track off to the west-northwest and eventually fade out into a depression. If we look at satellite, though, this troughing area is about to explode in the Pacific, so we may get 1, 2, and maybe even 3 storms. This area right here is another area of interest, given 100% chance for development. It may get that name this evening, Eastern Standard Time. We may go ahead and get the B name. And then we have another area behind this. So some of the models were suggesting triple storms by early next week in the Pacific. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But very interesting that it waits until the first week of July before it fires off. And that's going to do it for the Chucktown Wind Report. And until the next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.